First Kings, chapter 22 and 41. Reign of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat, son of Asa, became king of Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he became king, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Azubah, daughter of Shili. He walked in the way of Asa his father unceasingly, doing what was right in the father's sight. Nevertheless, the high places did not disappear, and the people still sacrificed on the high places and burnt incense there. Jehoshaphat also made peace with the king of Israel. The rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat with his valor, and what he did, and how he fought, are recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. He removed from the land the rest of the pagan priests who had remained in the reign of Asa his father. There was no king in Edom, but an appointed regent. Jehoshaphat made Tarshish ships to go to Ophir for gold, but in fact the ships did not go, because they were wrecked at Ezion-Geber. That was the time when Ahaziah, son of Ahab, had said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants accompany your servants in the ships." But Jehoshaphat would not agree. Jehoshaphat rested with his ancestors. He was buried with his ancestors in the city of David, his father, and his son Jehoram succeeded him as king. Reign of Ahaziah. Ahaziah, son of Ahab, became king over Israel and Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. He reigned 2 years over Israel. He did what was evil in the sight of the father, walking in the way of his father, his mother, and Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who caused Israel to sin. He served Baal and worshipped him, thus provoking the Most High Father, the God of Israel, Most High Yah I Am, just as his father had done. Second book of the Kings, chapter 1. Reign of Ahaziah continued. After Ahab's death, Moab rebelled against Israel. Ahaziah fell through the lattice of his roof terrace at Samaria and was injured. So he sent out messengers with the instructions, "Go and inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover from this injury." Meanwhile, the messenger of the father said to Elijah the Tishbite, "Go and meet the messengers of Samaria's king and tell them, is it because there is no God in Israel that you are going to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? For this the Father says, you shall not leave the bed upon which you lie. Instead you shall die." And Elijah departed. The messengers then returned to Ahaziah, who asked him, "Why have you returned?" They answered, "A man met us and said to us, 'Go back to the king who sent you and tell him, the Father, Most High I Am, is it because there is no God in Israel that you are sending to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? For this you shall not leave the bed upon which you lie. Instead you shall die. Thus says the Father." The king asked them, "What was the man like who met you and said these things to you?" They replied, "He wore a hairy garment with a leather belt around his waist." "It is Elijah the Tishbite," he exclaimed. Then the king sent a captain with his company of 50 men after Elijah. The prophet was seated on a hilltop when he found him. He said, "Man of the Father, Most High, the king commands you, come down." Elijah answered the captain, "Well, if I am a man of the Father Most High, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men." And fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50 men. The king sent another captain with his company of 50 men after Elijah. He shouted up and said, "Man of the Father Most High." The king says, "Come down immediately." Elijah answered him, "If I am a man of the Most High Father, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men. And divine fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50 men. The king sent the third captain with his company of 50 men. When the captain climbed the hill, he fell to his knees before Elijah, pleading with him. He said, "Man of the Father, Most High Father, let my life and the lives of these 50 men, your servants, count for something in your sight. Already fire has come down from heaven, consuming the first 2 captains with their companies of 50 men. But now let my life count for something in your sight." Then the messenger of the Father said to Elijah, "Go down with him. You need not be afraid of him." So Elijah left and went down with him to see the king. He declared to the king, "Thus says the Father, Most High I Am, because you sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, do you think there is no God, the Father Most High, in Israel to inquire of? You shall not leave the bed upon which you lie. Instead you shall die." Ahaziah died according to the word of the Father, Most High I Am, spoken by Elijah. Since he had no son, Joram succeeded him as king in the 2nd year of Joram, son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. The rest of the acts of Ahaziah, which he did, are recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Elisha succeeds Elijah. Chapter 2. Elijah's journey. When the Father was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, he said to Elisha, he and Elijah were on their way from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, "Stay here, please. The Father has sent me on to Bethel." Elisha replied, "As the Father lives, Most High I am. As you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. The Gal prophets who were in Bethel went out to Elisha and asked him, "Do you know that today the Father, Most High I am, will take your master from you?" He replied, "Yes, I know that. Be still." Elijah said to him, "Elisha, stay here, please. The Father has sent me to Jericho." Elisha replied, "As the Father lives, Most High I am, and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they came to Jericho. The Gal prophets who were in Jericho approached Elisha and asked him, "Do you know that today the Father, Most High I am, will take your master from you?" He replied, "Yes, I know that. Be still." Elijah said to him, "Stay here, please. The Father has sent me to Jordan." Elisha replied, "As the Father, Most High I am, lives, and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So the two went on together. 50 of the Gal prophets followed and stood facing them at a distance, while the two of them stood next to the Jordan. Elisha exceeds Elisha. Elijah took his mantle, rolled it up, and struck the water. It divided, and the two of them crossed over on dry ground. When they had crossed over, Elijah said to Elisha, "Request whatever I might do for you before I am taken from you." Elisha answered, "May I receive a double portion of your spirit?" He replied, "You have asked something that is not easy. Still, if you see me taken up from you, your wish will be granted. Otherwise not." As they walked on, still conversing, a fiery chariot and fiery horses came between the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind, and Elisha saw it happen. He cried out, my father, Israel's chariot and steeds." Then he saw him no longer. He gripped his own garment, tore it into 2 pieces, and picked up the mantle which had fallen from Elijah. Then he went back and stood at the bank of the Jordan, wielding the mantle which had fallen from Elijah. He struck the water and said, "The Father, Most High, Father of Elijah, yeah, I am. Where is he now?" He struck the water, it divided, and he crossed over. Elisha's journey. The Gal prophets in Jericho, who were on the other side, saw him and said, "The spirit of Elijah rests upon Elisha." They went to meet him. Bowing to the ground before him, they said, "Among your servants are 50 brave men. Let them go in search of your master. Perhaps the Spirit of the Father Most High has lifted him up and left him on some mountain or in some valley." He answered, "Do not send him." But they kept urging him until he was embarrassed and said, "Send them." So they sent the 50 men, who searched for 3 days without finding him. When they returned to Elisha in Jericho, where he was staying, he said to them, "Did I not tell you not to go?" The inhabitants of the city complained to Elisha, "The sight of the city is fine indeed, and my Lord can see. But the water is bad and the land sterile." Elisha said, "Bring me a new bowl and put salt into it." When they had brought it to him, he went out to the spring and threw salt into it, saying, "Thus says the Father, Most High I am. I have purified this water. Never again shall death or sterility come from it." And the water has stayed pure even to this day, according to the word of Elisha had spoken. From there Elisha went up to Bethel. While he was on the way, some little boys came out of the city and jeered at him. Go away, Baldy! Go away, Baldy!" The prophet turned and saw them, and he cursed them in the name of the Father, Most High I am. Then 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore 42 of the children to pieces. From there he went to Mount Carmel and returned to Samaria from there.